Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of truth discourse, which he gave to the five yogis that just after his enlightenment, he was actually practicing with them, had joined them, and their sort of practice was the way to enlightenment, because at that time nobody was fully enlightened. Nobody had found the full final release, psychological freedom, but they thought the practice was to reduce desire by fasting. So yogic fasting. And so Siddhartha, wanting to excel and wanting to sort of reach full enlightenment as soon as possible, did this in an extreme way, and to the point of nearly dying. So it's not healthy at all. He realized that fasting, sure, you can go without the fundamental food, but after a while the mind becomes dull, the body becomes weak, and it doesn't really serve the mind towards clarity and alertness and sharpness and enlightenment. But he did have a realization that could there be a way to enlightenment that doesn't involve the senses and sensual pleasure? Because he saw that the fundamental issue is pleasure, which aligns very much with Freud's pleasure principle, that there's a fundamental urge in all human beings and all creatures towards pleasure. We naturally incline towards that which is pleasant. Even a plant does. It'll move towards the sun. You won't be thinking too much about it, but there's a sense of a natural sort of movement towards that which is more pleasant and pleasurable. And certainly for human beings, that's something which drives us. Much of what we do, decisions that we make, are because it's going to be more pleasant rather than painful. Even when we work so hard to be able to have things that we're going to enjoy, that we like, that fundamental pleasure principle that Freud spoke about, and the Buddha could see that what causes people's distress and suffering is attachment and clinging. So yes, looking to realize ultimate freedom, but there's this fundamental experience of pain and suffering that people are caught into, and the four sources of stress and suffering that we're all caught into, the unenlightened mind, which I've got on a chart here. I think it's on that chart. This is a bit of a brief on those. And it's good to actually know what these are, because if you find that you're upset, distressed, overwhelmed, confused, angry, anxious, it's probably because our mind's being caught into one of the four sources of stress and suffering. Number one is not getting what we want is a source of stress and suffering. Sometimes it's subtle. It's like, oh, damn it, I missed out. They said they had it in the shop, but it wasn't there, or somebody else bought it. Subtle stress and suffering, or maybe even more, something more significant. So not getting what we want is a source of stress and suffering, because there's a sense of wanting. I want to have that. Maybe even, I deserve to get that. I've worked hard for that. Now they say that they can't have it, or they can't make it, or for whatever reason. It's like upset, distress, pain and suffering. Second source is having to give up or lose what we like and love. I used to love my blonde hair until it went brown, and then it fell out, or went grey then fell out. So the losing what we like and love is a source of stress and suffering. And again, there's a holding on. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to have to give it up. I don't want to have to let this go. Stress and suffering. And yet we are a lifetime losing what we like and love. But we keep on holding on. Okay, I'll get another one. I'll get a different one. I'll get a replacement. I'll get a red one. I'll get a faster one. I'll get a younger one. I'll get two. Trying to replace, trying to fulfill. But it's a tireless, endless pursuit. So losing what we like and love is a source of stress and suffering. Number 3 is having to be with that which is unpleasant is a source of stress and suffering. So I'm wanting to not have to be with this, the neighbours from hell, or a difficult situation. I don't want to have to be with this. It might be just the weather. I don't want to have to be with this heat or this cold. So that's, again, wanting to not have something happening, that is happening. The 4th one is having to deal with the realities of our mind-body complex. And particularly the Siddhartha, before he was the Buddha, saw this, that there's aging. And he was told that everybody gets old. He hadn't really seen a really old person before, but on 4 occasions when he went out of the palace with his charioteer, he'd been kept away from things that might stir his mind up to reflect upon life and existential angst, and potentially go off to become a mendicant, a monk, because his father was told at his birth, your son, Prince Siddhartha, will either be a great ruling monarch or a great spiritual teacher. So King Suddhodana, his father, kept him away from things that might stir him up to reflect and want to take up spiritual life. So he wasn't around or privy to things that would cause him to reflect upon, well, what are we here for anyway? If we're going to get old and sick and die. But on 4 occasions, as a young man, went out of the palace with his charioteer and saw a really old person. What's wrong with that person? That's just an old person. If people live a long time, that's how they get to look. My goodness. Didn't have plastic surgery back in those days. And then on another occasion saw a sick person, never really seen someone that sick before. And in India, 2,500 years ago, there was probably, you'd see people that were really sick, leprosy and bits and pieces falling off, and that sort of stirred him up. On a 3rd occasion, he saw a corpse. Why isn't that person moving? Well, they're dead. That's what it looks like. That's what death looks like, which comes to all of us. Fortunately, on the 4th occasion, he saw someone that was a yogi, aspiring to spiritual practices, looking to find realization. And that motivated him to think, well, I can find this too. I can help to find the relief from this illness that we're all beset with, aging, illness and death. So that and that motivated him to leave his home life as a young prince and to seek enlightenment. But it's these 4 sources of stress and suffering that were, again, the motivation for him to seek enlightenment. And he realized that in the context of the 4 truths basically about stress and suffering, that there is stress and suffering, but along the lines of a medical model, then let's find what the cause is. And the cause to our stress and suffering is attachment, clinging, craving, wanting, holding on. And which is a bit like, the doctor goes, you're in pain. First truth, you're in pain. Okay, let's find the cause. The cause of the pain is this particular illness. You've got the diagnosis, this illness. 3rd truth is we can bring about a cure. You can be free from this illness. You can be well. And in Buddhism, the 3rd truth is enlightenment, nirvana, the possibility of full and final freedom. And the 4th truth, there is a way, a process for healing, for curing. And the 4th truth is the Eightfold Path. So seeing things in a clear, conscious way, right view, the right use of thought, the right use of speech, action, engaging in right livelihood, putting in right amount of effort, engaging right mindfulness and right concentration, deep meditation as the path. Next retreat day we'll look into, more specifically, the elements of the Eightfold Path. But this morning, particularly appreciating these 4 truths, and the 4 truths of basically of dukkha. The Buddhist word for dukkha, there's no one good English translation of dukkha. Dukkha is from subtle unease, disappointment, agitation, frustration, to pain, even into gross suffering, physical and mental. So the Buddhists saw that, yeah, there is pain and suffering in life. The cause of that is attachment. And again, back to that pleasure principle, that we seek things, and we seek things, pleasure through the body. And the Buddha saw that, okay, well, is there a way to have pleasure that is not based upon the body, that doesn't lead to attachment? A pleasure that comes from actually letting go, from refining the mind. And he had a realization that, and a memory, when he was a young boy, watching his father, the king, performing a ploughing ceremony, tilling the earth, probably springtime, sort of as a ceremony for the villagers, till the earth, cut the earth, before we start to sow seeds and so forth. And his mind went into it. He had a sense of joy watching his father. He was sitting under what's called a rose apple tree, and his mind went into a deep, profound peace. And it was hours later before the servants came along and said, "What are you doing? You've fallen asleep." He said, "No, it's in deep, profound peace." So he'd gone into an absorption meditation, jhana. And so then, as a yogi mendicant, he'd realized that there was a peace there that wasn't about what I was looking at, wasn't about seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting, touching, feeling, or even thinking lots of lovely thoughts. It was the peace of a purified mind. And he made the exclamation, "This could be the way to enlightenment." So that there's a pleasure that comes from a really calm, still mind. So in a way, we're replacing the pleasure of a lovely meal, a great movie, beautiful music, the warmth of the sun on our body, some fantastic thoughts and ideas. So basically, there's 5, 6 senses to the pleasure that comes from a calm, still mind. And he realized this could be the way to enlightenment. And particularly to enable this profound peace, there is a letting go of the attachment to the senses. So realizing that this is the way to enlightenment. And a statement from the Buddha, where he says, "I considered, could jhana be the path to enlightenment? Then came the realization, that is the path to enlightenment." And also he says of this deep meditation, jhana is called the pleasure of renunciation, the pleasure of seclusion, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of enlightenment. I say of this kind of pleasure that it should be pursued, that it should be developed, that it should be cultivated, that it should not be feared. So developing the mind in this way. And again, the simplicity of the meditation, just focusing on the breath, an in-breath and out-breath. As the mind becomes more collected and concentrated, it moves beyond being aware of the body, sensations in the body, beyond thinking. Thinking stops. And it's the pleasure of a calm, still mind that's radiant, that's buoyant, that's deeply peaceful. And of course, as well as that, the mind has to give up being caught up in greed, anger, ignorance, that manifests as the 5 hindrances that we spoke about before. Thoughts of sense desire, or thoughts of ill will, obviously, which is a negative thing, but the 5 hindrances that hinder calm and clarity. Mental dullness, mental agitation, and also thoughts of doubt, skeptical doubt. So the mind's becoming purified, simplified, and again more and more peaceful into various levels and layers of the meditation, deeper states of consciousness. Fundamentally, the mind moving from the normal beta brainwave pattern into alpha brainwave pattern, and which also then brings up serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and also again the body is let go of. So there's a sense of not being aware of discomfort in the body, and a motivation to therefore outside of meditation know there is a deep, profound peace and pleasure without having to go out to a restaurant or go to a movie or these sorts of things. I can save some money. I don't have to work so hard. I can maybe work less and spend more time in meditation. Or for some people, it's like, well, hey, enough of the world. I'm going to leave the world behind, in a sense, and ordain as a Buddhist monastic, a monk or a nun, because I'm getting more pleasure from a peaceful mind than having to deal with BAS statements and taxations and having to upgrade my iPhone subscription or Google or whatever that might be. It's the hassles of that. So refining into something more profound. There's a saying of the Buddha where he says, it's wisdom that's able to discern and decide to let go of a lesser pleasure, a lesser happiness, for the purposes of realizing a higher pleasure, a higher happiness. And that's something which is important to appreciate, because if we're going to meditate, like even just being here today, we're giving up other things that we could do that might be out there. Go to the beach, probably a great day on the coast. Go for a balloon ride. Go for a joyride in a car somewhere. Go and listen to some lovely music. So we're giving up that to sit in a room and maybe do a bit of walking meditation outside. So we're letting go of some sensory experiences, even down to thinking. You know, you might be, well, at least I can think. Well, but then you get caught up in thinking about amazing things that I could do. I could paint, I could design, I could develop, I could, my next holiday, what are we doing for Christmas? And lots of lovely thoughts, and not even indulging in thinking, because that's a limitation. So letting go of thinking, and that's where there can be this deep peace and pleasure. So moving beyond or giving up lesser pleasures for the higher, more profound pleasure of deep, profound peace, even ultimate freedom, where the mind is no longer attached to things. And attachment, it's a difficult word, because often people say, well, isn't it good to have attachment to your partner and things so you look after them? Well, it's like holding something. You can hold it, but don't be attached to it. Hold it, make use of it, but be able to let it go. It's the attachment, the binding, that is the problem. The binding, the clinging. And then if something's sort of being taken away from us, more distress. Or despair, if it's gone. Even depression. So being able to take up, to hold, we use the body, we use the mind, we use what's necessary for our life, but without the attachment that's there. It's a bit like William Blake's verse, he, or I'd like to translate it as they who bind to themselves a joy, does the winged life destroy. But they who kiss the joy as it flies, lives in eternity's sunrise. So not the binding, we're not binding to ourselves a joy. So one, or they who binds themselves to a joy, does the winged life destroy. So being able just to hold, to embrace, but also to be able to allow things to flow and let go when needed. And that's a more easeful approach to life. So of course there's degrees of definition in terms of holding or clinging or attachment, but basically it's up to us as individuals to know how to engage, how to take up, how to hold, how to make use of, but also how to release and let go as well. So these four truths that the Buddha realized, that there is stress and suffering in life, that there is a specific cause to it. The cause is attachment, and when we're no longer attached to things, then yes, we experience life, but without the clinging and the craving and the grieving and so forth. And the mind can become totally free, fully enlightened, and there's a way to develop this. And again, the Buddha spoke about the importance of meditation, and all of the 7 of the the Eightfold Path, with the 7 factors before the 8th, they help to support the mind for meditation. So seeing things in the right way, the right use of thought, right use of speech, so we're not sort of saying things that cause problems. Sit down to meditation, I shouldn't have said that last night. If only I hadn't sort of shouted off about this or that. Or so that right speech allows the mind to be more calm and at ease. Right action, so living in a wholesome moral way, the right use of livelihood, not getting caught up in regret and remorse about things that we've done with regards to livelihood. And then right energy or right effort, right mindfulness, which leads into right concentration. So meditation as the way to enlightenment. The Buddha's path is not a physical yoga, it's a mental yoga. It's a mental exercising the prefrontal cortex of the brain, enhancing those neural connections. So the mind is less caught into the amygdala impulses, the stress responses, fight, flight, freeze, and more able to be conscious, aware, alert, present. So our opportunity today is to develop our meditation practice, and again, just keeping it simple. Just sitting, being, breathing, being aware in the present moment, particularly aware of the breath, and outside of the formal sitting meditation, we'll be doing some walking meditation, just mindfully pacing back and forth outside, being aware of the movement of our legs or feet. If it's helpful to say in your mind with the walking about 10, 20 paces, lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Eyes open, looking down about 2 meters ahead. Get to the end of your walking space, mindfully turning around, turning, and then walking back again. Back and forth, back and forth. And that helps also to enable the mindfulness. So when we come back to sit meditation, then the mind is more present. Often people say that after the walking, their mind is more collected, less thought distractions, more present. So over our day we'll have several sessions of sitting and also walking. With the sitting, if you want to sit beyond the usual 30 minutes that we might sit, that's fine, sit longer. If you still want to go out for a walk, just go out for a walk and then come back in again when we all come back in. But use the day for yourself in a mindful, meditative way. And also at lunchtime, if you want to have a little chat with people, that's fine. Right speech, mindful talking. Make some friends, develop some friendships. In a way, there's a meditative community here, so it's good to be able to connect with people and have a sense of being supported by people that you're aware of and know. And we'll have lunch around about midday, about 12 o'clock. If you forgot your lunch, there's plenty of bananas out there, freshly cut off the bunch. There's tea, coffee, milk out there, biscuits, and toilets on the side there. Most of you know that's there. And I think that's about it. If you need to leave early, I know someone's going to be leaving early lunchtime, but if you do need to leave, just so we know that you have left and not sort of got lost somewhere, then either tell me or tell Pip at the back, or otherwise Brendan here at the front, who's looking after the video. We are recording this, and so that if you ask a question, it's likely to be on the recording. If you feel shy, then get someone else to ask a question. Any questions or concerns at this point? Annabelle?
Is it okay if I lie down? I know it's good to sit up, but I go quite deep into meditation. I don't fall asleep when I lay down.
Yeah, if you find a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to interrupt, but yeah.
Maybe either down here. Generally, if you're lying down, then it's not good to put your feet towards the Buddha.
Yeah.
But otherwise, find a space. There's even some mats up there at the back.
Okay.
But there's not room for everyone to lie down.
No, I'm sorry.
But also, if in the meditation you find that you got a bad back, you need to sort of move a bit, that's okay. If you need to stand up and stretch, that's okay. And also, there's no sort of formal tea break apart from lunchtime. So if before you go out for walking or after walking you want to get some tea to bring in or coffee, that's fine as well. Good. Well, let's settle in with our meditation. If you need to have a stretch for a minute before we sit still, feel free. Also, if you're sitting where the tiles are, if it's cold on your feet, there's some of the flat mats at the back that you can put underneath your feet. So, settling into this morning meditation on our retreat, having established a comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable some inner mindful presence. Our eyes gently closed, helping to bring our awareness within, and having an initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. A nice deep breath sends a signal to our brain to release endorphins to soothe the muscles, tendons, tissue of our body. And the outgoing breath is also a psychological symbol of letting go. So breathing out, letting go of issues, worries, concerns, disengaging the mind from the various roles that the self has, whatever they may be, self as a partner, self as a parent, brother, son, sister, daughter, colleague, friend. Appreciating that roles come with responsibilities, obligations, duties, stress, and thinking. So if the mind isn't engaging in a role or through a role, then thoughts are not required. Even if thoughts do come up, we don't need to engage them because the mind is not engaged through those roles. But rather using the mind to simply be aware in the present moment. The present moment being this place, this point of existence. So meditation is practicing being present and realizing the point of existence, the present. Not being caught up in the has-been, thinking about the might-be, but calm, conscious, objective, receptive, attentive, mindful knowing in the present. And our reference point for the present can be just the naturally occurring, soothing sensation of the breath. Noticing where we feel the breath the most. Maybe in the abdomen, the chest, the nose, the nostril area. Particularly the nose-nostril area is a good place to focus our attention. So directing attention to that place. Directing attention and also holding attention. Two important psychological qualities, directing and holding attention to the point of sensation where we feel the breath the most. Feeling the gentle inflow of the breath, allowing the body to release the breath, breathing out. Directing attention, sustaining attention, whilst also looking through the closed eyelids into the space in front. Even though the eyelids are closed, there's still light coming in that we can see. So looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. A forward focused gaze into the space in front through the closed eyelids, into the lightness, brightness, blankness, whilst also feeling the inflow, outflow of each breath. And if it's helpful to use a mental meditative word in the mind, a mantra, to help keep the mind focused and not distracted by thoughts, that can be a helpful crutch as long as we need it. Just one or two words such as calm on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. So just using those words if we need them, repeating them in the mind to help not get caught up in thoughts. But of course, if we do, then retrieving our attention straight back to the breath, re-establishing attention, helping the mind settle, become calm and clear, collected and concentrated, allowing the arising of inner ease, joy, peace, presence. Meditation is simply being present. Savoring each soothing breath. as we sit, just noticing where the attention is. And if the mind's got caught into some thinking, gently retrieving our attention and bring it back to the present, connecting with each soothing, therapeutic breath. Simply sitting, sensing, savouring the moment through each mindful breath. Mind, body aligned in the present. just a few minutes left in our meditation, being extra mindful, focused, feeling and knowing each breath, developing calm, clarity, peace and presence. Just before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. meditation can continue with some walking meditation if you wish. If you wish to keep sitting, that's fine. So we'll do the walking for about 30 minutes, and I'll ring these chimes when it's time to come back in. And just finding a place at the side, either side of the house here, down the front, up behind the shed, down in the car park area. Maybe not on the road. There's a road that goes through this property up to a couple of neighbours, so don't walk on the road. Sometimes they come down quite quickly. But find a nice space, 10 to 20 paces, and just half your normal walking pace, slowing things down a bit, and just mindfully lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Don't get too distracted with the view. And enjoy some walking for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back in and go into the sitting meditation. Do we have some people joining us online?
Yep, got 3 people.
Okay, so the people online, hopefully you can find a walking space at home, up and down the hallway, out the front yard, backyard, and enjoy some walking. So let's have some walking meditation. So settling down into our meditation, mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, developing calm, clarity, peace and presence, simply by directing our mind's attention to the present moment, by noticing each soothing, therapeutic breath, collecting mind energy and connecting mind energy to each breath. Moving the mind beyond being caught into thoughts about what has been, thoughts about what might be, and developing this calm, conscious knowing in the present. Much of the meditation is the process and practice of letting go. Letting go of thoughts, attachments to sensory experience, and just being inwardly aware, being curious and interested in what happens when we're aware of one thing at a time, mindful mind moments, allowing the mind to settle, become still, silent, inwardly spacious. Directing attention to the place where we feel the breath the most, engaging some right effort, intention plus energy, making effort just to stay with each in-breath, out-breath, making that enough. Simply enough to notice and feel each breath in each moment, quietening, calming, centering, soothing the mind. Receiving each breath, and then allowing the body to relinquish, let go, allowing, letting go, allowing, letting go. The ebb and flow, the waves of breath, even the subtle energy, the gentle rising and falling of the body as we breathe, receiving, relinquishing, allowing, letting go. Simply being present, being and knowing. Mental break from thinking and doing, just being and knowing. Allowing the natural radiance and luminosity of the mind to become apparent. Feeling the sensation of each breath. Looking into the space in front through the closed eyelids. Using a meditative mental word or two in the mind together with each breath, if we find that helpful. But otherwise, just sensing, feeling each breath in each moment. Practicing being present. Noticing if the mind's got attracted, distracted into some thinking, and if so, gently retrieving our attention and re-establishing, focusing on our breath, back to this soothing, neutral experience, breathing, exercising and strengthening attention in the present moment. Mind, body aligned in the present. A few minutes left in our meditation, maintaining our focus, simply sitting, being, breathing, knowing, each mindful breath nurturing, nourishing mind, body, and being. Just before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. little stretch if you need to. So how are we feeling? Good? Okay. Not good? Good enough? However we're feeling, it'll change. It won't last. Certainly, that was one of the fundamental appreciations that the Buddha saw, that all things are subject to change. Things don't last. Which is why they have this quality of being dukkha, unsatisfactory or unsatisfying, or a cause of stress or pain, because fundamentally they don't last. Even if things are pleasant and pleasurable, but things don't last. They change. They change over time, which makes them therefore unsatisfactory or unsatisfying. Can be really helpful to in a way learn by heart, to know what these four truths are. And again, the Buddha taught them in the context of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first discourse, the first teaching that the Buddha gave after his enlightenment to the 5 yogis, the 5 practitioners that he was practicing with before his enlightenment. And at the end of the discourse, the teaching, one of the 5 had become enlightened. His mind was liberated. They then together entered into the Vassa retreat period, and at the end of that 3-month period, they were all enlightened. The Buddha was already enlightened beforehand, but the others became enlightened as well. So a special sort of beginning of the whole tradition of Buddhism 2,500 years ago. But that fundamental teaching of the 4 Noble Truths, and interestingly, from my research into early Buddhism, particularly reading this it's more than an article, it's a book, Rethinking the Buddha, Early Buddhist Philosophy as Meditative Perception by Eviatar Schulman. And he's actually he's an academic, but my sense that he has a really good, clear understanding of the Buddha's teachings and practice of it as well, just from what he's written in this. And I will send this out to you as a PDF form so that you can have a read. It's 205 pages. Just a bit of light reading before going to bed. It is quite academic. He's an academic, and he writes in an academic style with lots of footnotes, which I found as interesting as the body of the book. But it really gives a good understanding of what the Buddha's teachings was, particularly in the context of meditation and the 4 Noble Truths in the early years of the development of the Buddhist tradition. And his thesis is that from his studies, he's found that these 4 noble truths were called noble truths later, not in the early ways in which they were used. So they were simply seen as meditative perceptions, even like a philosophical meditative perception. And here philosophical in the sense that he points out that whilst these days you wouldn't see the Buddha's teachings as a philosophy in the way in which we view contemporary philosophy, but you would in the sense of seeing how ancient philosophy was used in the days of Plato and Socrates, where philosophy, as in philosophia, philo love, sophia wisdom, a love of wisdom, was actually a way of seeing and a way of being. So the early philosophers, particularly the Greek philosophers, it was their particular way of being and relating to life, to experience. It wasn't just some really interesting philosophical ponderings and thinkings. It was a way of being, and that the Buddha came to understand through looking into the reality of the nature of experience, that all things are subject to change. Sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe, all sankhara phenomena anicca, impermanent, nicca permanent, anicca impermanent. And because it's impermanent, it's a source of potential stress and suffering for people, especially if we're holding on to things, clinging on to things, even wanting to not have things. I don't like that. I don't want it, which is a sort of like a wanting to not have something. There's still a sense of wanting that's there, which then becomes a source of suffering. And that as a meditative approach and as a philosophical approach, the Buddha was able to see that if we look at life and look at our experience through these perceptions, then we're more likely to be able to let go of things, not be attached to things, enjoy things while they last, but be careful as well, because the enjoyment does often lead into that wanting more, attachment, distraction. So, but appreciating that things don't last, therefore don't be attached to things, and that by doing so, the mind becomes more able to become purified, clarified, calm, or inwardly aware, refined, pure. And therefore, there's not, particularly through the deeper meditations, jhana, absorption meditation, through mindfulness of breathing, and there's not that much insight, wisdom that has to occur for full letting go. So the mind becomes clarified, purified, refined, but powerful. And that's where then insight, vipassana, happens in a most powerful way. So the mind is already nearly towards liberation. And that therefore learning and training the mind to see in a particular way becomes a perception, both during meditation. So obviously in meditation, we're not thinking, but when the mind quietens down and maybe having had some time in deeper meditation and coming out of deeper meditation, the mind can then just see the nature of that pleasant feeling. It's impermanent. Or the pain that's in the body, it's impermanent. Let go. All things are impermanent. I don't need to identify with that pain. I'm not the pain. I'm not the pleasant experience. I'm not those thoughts. So that's when the final letting go liberation happens. The mind disidentifies from being identified as a permanent entity. Me, I, self, ego. The mind sees that as just a process. Self is just a process, an operating system that's used for organizing mind and body. So liberating insight does occur. But again, to have these perceptions that, okay, and he even points out that in a lot of the original wording of these teachings to do with the Four Noble Truths, he calls them sort of just the four perceptions. There's the word this is pain. This is the cause of the pain. This is the ending of the pain. This is the way to the ending of the pain. So as a way of sort of looking at experience, which is something that I find really quite practical, as opposed to making it noble and sort of significant truths. They weren't maybe necessarily meant to be sort of overall, overarching, underpinning truths for everything. You know, life is suffering, everything is suffering. Most people find that difficult to relate to. So, well, actually, last night I wasn't suffering. How about this morning? Oh, yeah, this morning. or if you didn't sleep well. But that sense that we can relate to that in an experience, it might be, okay, well, yeah, there's some discomfort here, or there's some unease here, which might be from the body, it might be the mental unsettledness and emotional unsettledness, unease. Okay, this is pain, this is painful, or this is difficult, this is suffering. Okay, there is a cause to this, holding, wanting, clinging, or wanting to not have this. And there can be the ending of this. How does the ending happen? Well, through letting go. And again, the meditation is all about letting go of thinking, letting go of other doing stuff, letting go of speaking, letting go of getting excited about hearing or sensing or tasting and so forth. So that the letting go, which ultimately ends up in the mind not being attached to anything, which is significant. We can get through life, we can be alive, we can get through life without being attached. Again, we can pick up, we can engage, we can hold, but without the attachment. And most of us, there's more things in our life that we have let go of and are not attached to than probably that we are attached to. Are we attached to those teddy bears we had when we were a kid? They were, probably really important. We cried if we didn't have the bear or the whatever it was. But it's like, well, not attached now. Or toys that we had, clothes that we had, even friends that we had, kindergarten, just letting go. We're not attached to them anymore. We're not attached to being a teenager. We'd all be suffering then. So, let go of those years and even relationships. Okay, well, yeah, it was good while it lasted, but let it go now. And vehicles that we've had and so forth, houses that we've lived in, etc. So lots of letting go, which we don't give any sort of thought to now. Yes, there's attachments now, but again, we can be with things, experience things, enjoy things, but without the attachment. The Buddha spoke about there was many things that he felt were pleasurable, that he enjoyed experiencing. Particular places, certainly enjoying the abode of meditation, but without holding on to it, without the attachment. Particularly in our world and our experience of life more recently, the 21st century, more and more we can't be attached to things because things change so quickly. I love the first mobile phone that I had. Had it for many years until I couldn't download apps and things for it, so I had to get a new one. So things are changing so quickly that I love my Land Rover, 1996 Land Rover Discovery, but had to let it go. It's just things wear out, things become obsolete. So life is teaching us to let go, to relinquish fundamentally, but particularly the Buddha's teachings emphasizes this is something that can be made into an important spiritual practice for liberation. So these become meditative, psychological, philosophical perceptions to see things, this is pain, this is uncomfortable. There is a cause to this, holding on in some way. There can be the ending of this discomfort and distress or pain, let go. And the way to that is practicing the Eightfold Path, which fundamentally summarizes down into three main elements: Trinity practice, morality, living in a wholesome, healthy, mindful way. So morality, meditation, developing, deepening, refining the mind, meditation, and developing clear understanding, wisdom. So morality, meditation, and wisdom as the practice Trinity. So the term, at a later time in the development of Buddhism, the words Arya and Satya were added on to these four perceptions. They became the Four Noble Truths. And Eviatar Schulman points out in his book that this may have been as Buddhism was developing, so too was Brahmanism, which became a developing tradition in India, and which had Brahmin priests. They used Sanskrit language as opposed to the more common language, which was similar to Pali. The words I use tend to be Pali words. Sanskrit is sort of similar, so that Buddhism then adopted Sanskrit words because it was seen to be more of an upper class, educated approach, and so that's where Mahayana Buddhism and Vajrayana Buddhism, they use Sanskrit because it's a later development in Buddhism, and also because the Brahmin priests were quite learned, so the Buddhist monks wanted to sort of be appreciated as being knowledgeable and learned as well. So they made the teachings a little bit more academic, so to speak, and a bit more important. This is the noble truth, which made it sort of more attractive, more important. It's not just, this is just a perception, this is a noble truth. And so people wanted to find, well, what are the four noble truths? And so Buddhism became, I guess, keeping its status as things were developing. But often described as noble because they came from the perception of a Buddha, fully enlightened. And noble here is the translation of the word Arya, meaning enlightened or noble. So and truths as in sort of fundamental facts. It's not just a perception, but this is a fact. There is suffering. There is a cause. There is an ending. There's a way to the ending. So sort of as a bit more solid, so to speak. So whether we appreciate them as four noble truths or four perceptions, they're important to be used for freeing the mind from being caught up and confused and attached to things, ultimately finding freedom. And again, coming back to pleasure, it's about the pleasure of freedom, the pleasure of not being burdened, to being unburdened, the pleasure of ease and joy, the pleasure of contentment, the pleasure that comes from a calm, clear mind. And that becomes a motivation that is available to all of us. So it's not about, oh, I've got to give up so much and live a sort of a life of a yogic ascetic, and it's going to be painful. It's like, no, we're just reducing or letting go of some lesser pleasures for a more profound, more enduring, more sustainable pleasure. So that could be worthwhile. Any questions, Loretta?
Thanks, John. That's very helpful. I'm just wondering if you could speak to the timing of letting go versus effort. Like, when do we know when to put effort in?
Yeah, good question. So when to put effort in and when to let go. We could see them as one and the same thing, because there is effort to let go. And even as one of the path or practice factors, the Eightfold Path, right effort. So number 6, right effort. So, and the right effort is, we could say it's the right amount of effort, not too much, not too little, but also at the right time as well. So the right time, and because you don't want to be putting effort in a type of a clinging way, but more just putting effort in a way that is right and wise, as opposed to, I'm going to put effort in because I want to get something. I want to get calm, and that wouldn't probably not work. It's more just again, the practice often is a letting go, putting effort into letting go than gaining, getting, having, holding, clinging, grasping, even if it's about something nice. I want to put effort into to get wiser, or to get more compassionate. If it's coming from the wrong intention, then it's not going to work so well. And it's up to each individual to assess that. What's the intention here? wanting is in my effort or even my wanting to let go. So do we all get a sense of these four truths, how they sort of relate to just practical experience, and they can be used to as a focus, as a sort of a perception, as a meditative perception, so that we don't get just caught up in the way of the world, which generally the world and worldliness is about, holding on, get more, get what you don't have, push away what you don't want, get more of what you don't have, get more of it. Again, that sort of whole idea of, get a bigger one, get a faster one, get a red one, and you'll be happy. That one that you've got, we've got a new one for you. Get it. It's like, well, not necessary.
It's interesting to look at the root where it arises from.
The root of the wanting.
Mm.
What's your sense of that, Paul?
It's the identification. It's the I that grasps and wants.
Yeah.
I heard when you were talking earlier about looking into the impermanence, and then naturally what follows when you touch impermanence is that empty nature. Shifts into that non-separation.
Yeah, so then that fundamental aspect of sunyata, emptiness, everything is void of anything permanent, and particularly also void of any identity, any atta or self in these things. They're just fluxing, changing phenomena, whether it's a physical thing. Am I the pain, or there's just pain? Am I the pleasure? I'm happy. Well, what is the I that's happy, and what is the happiness anyway? So even seeing that the I-ness is just a process of selfing, which is a mental process of identification. The mind goes clock, then it goes my clock. Suddenly there's a me here, and there's I've had this clock for over 10 years. I'm creating time now. I hope I have this clock into the future, time into the future. I wonder how long this clock will last. I fear it's being broken. So suddenly there's a whole sort of self-story happening, because the mind not just identified, that's fairly neutral, but identified with it, and then identified as it. So seeing that things are impermanent allows us to let go, and not even being someone that's let go, but even letting go of the someone that's let go. Because that can become a mind trick as well. I have let go. So who are you that's let go? Well, it's just basically thinking in the mind.
Yeah, and identifying with the suffering, that this is my suffering. Merely suffering is suffering.
That's right.
Not my suffering.
Yeah,
because you can let go of it, but then, it tricks you. And
that's right. And it's the language that does it. So that adding the personal pronouns to things, the I-ing and the my-ing and the me-ing, and also then creating sort of duality, the you-ing, if that's you, then this is me. And so language, as wonderful as it is, and as useful as it is, it also can be entrapping as well. Entrapment through language and concepts, which is why in meditation we're looking to get the mind beyond the thinking and beyond the concepts, because the concepts disguise or hide reality.
And that's where it comes into the total experience without the mind grasping onto
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
Actually feel it.
There's a little saying that says, there is suffering, but no one that suffers. There is enlightenment, but no one to enter it. There is a path of practice, but no one to practice it. So again, it's through quietening the mind, developing, deepening the mind to see things more clearly, especially to see the identification process. And pain and suffering can be really helpful for that. So there's So we might be sitting meditation and we might notice there's a noticing, awareness of sensation in the knee or in the back. And it's just a sensation. Yes, okay. How do we describe it? It's either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Oh, it's unpleasant sensation. That just describes some sensation points. It might be hot, tight, or might be throbbing, piercing. Just noticing it. Then the mind goes, oh, painful. And there's a whole background history. I don't like pain. Pain is not good. We shouldn't have pain. What do I need to do to this? I'm in pain. So suddenly there's not just an awareness of it, identification of it. There's a sense that it's my pain. And then suddenly I'm in pain. I am suffering. So the mind has made an identity, a self, out of simply noticing a phenomena. Same with like the sensation of tightness and heat in the chest, throbbing, piercing, tingling, sweaty palms, heart's racing, and we can give it a word, anxiety. I'm anxious. But really, is where's the I and what is the I that's anxious? It's just there's an awareness, fundamental mindfulness of certain physiological symptoms happening in the body, tightness, tension, heat, throbbing, piercing, moistness, and what's happening with the mind, thoughts, some thinking happening about the future, worry, worry, worry. Okay, some future thoughts occurring as a mental image or a mental voice. Image, I see myself there. Does it have a script? Yeah, I can't do it. I'm going to fail. I'm not good enough, etc. Your voice or someone else's voice? Oh, it's my voice. It sounds like my mother's voice as well. You can't do it. You're not good enough. This is where it gets sort of into the psychological, psychotherapeutic aspect. But the mind is making a sense of self that's anxious. I'm anxious. I don't want to be anxious. Now I've got a problem. I'm not just experiencing it, but I don't want it. Struggle, stress, fear that it's going to last. And the whole experience gets complicated. The mind's complicating beyond just, okay, awareness of some tension, tightness, heat, based upon some adrenaline that occurred because some certain thoughts happen in the mind. Neutral knowing, not feeding it and fueling it, fostering it, it dissolves. So again, it's self suffers. Self creates a suffering out of a misperception or misunderstanding or ignorance, ignoring the truth of things. The Buddhist word avidya, vidya means seeing, avidya, not seeing the truth of things. And again, in meditation, you don't need to meditate. Meditation happens, but you're not meditating. If you're still there, I'm here thinking I want to meditate and I'm trying to meditate and am I doing it right? And is it like before? And how long is it going to last for? The I that's thinking, that's making the I that's being a meditator, that's having judgment. And that's again, stress and suffering. So we can see, noticing the mind making the self-making that's occurring. So again, the Buddha's teachings are as much, yes, a philosophical approach to life, to look at things in a wise way, but also psychological in understanding how the mind really works and how the mind creates and makes and perpetuates this illusion of self that suffers. Isn't it interesting?
I think the difficulty for me, for example, is the when desires of your true self or your true nature, they get out of control. And then it's difficult to accept or to trust, let's say, that voice of that I that takes over and says, oh no, you need some more apple pie or whatever, you know. It's a fine line there to distinguish that.
So how do you deal with that, Alberto?
Yeah, that's I have to it's a struggle, you know, a continuous struggle sometimes. Because you're not sure, I mean, I'm not sure if the basic desire that I have, how far can it go? You know what I mean?
Well, that's where even noticing, there's desire, just noticing it as a, how do I know there's desire there? Or it might be I'm desiring, but okay, well, I am desiring is just I am desiring, 3 words in the mind. And what is the desire? Well, it might be an energy, a feel, a tension. It might be some thinking, some images about the apple pie, etc. Might it be the memory of it, like that, yes. And so noticing the elements of it as opposed to getting overwhelmed by the whole of it. So breaking things down into parts. What's the body experience of this? What's the feeling aspect of that? What's the mental state of this? What's the mental content, the thoughts in that mental state, which is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of body experience, mindfulness of felt experience, mindfulness of mental state and mental content. Just noticing, and therefore not just getting caught up into the desire or the aversion, whatever it might be. And it's a deconditioning and decommissioning of neural hardware so that there's less sort of draw into particularly the unhelpful states that do occur. But this is the practice. The practice is the process of seeing and learning and strengthening the mind, purifying the mind, letting go. It's a lifetime's work. It's many lifetimes' work. That's why we need to make good use of our time whilst we have it. So should we keep meditating or should we have lunch? They were just words, but they might have triggered something. Let's take a break for, say, 45 minutes. Some mindful lunch. So you can either eat in here or find a bench outside, sit on the grass if you want, find a place with someone else or by yourself, whatever's good. And we'll resume in about 45 minutes. So welcome back for our afternoon session. Some mindful sitting, some more mindful walking, some more mindful talking. So just a couple of hours left before we finish up. So using the time well. So we'll do a sit for 30 minutes and then walk for 30 minutes, back in, sit for 30 minutes, and then have some time for any further reflections, questions, discussion, and end up with a short couple of minutes dedication of merit meditation at the end. And I'm aware that there's a couple of people that need to leave before 3, so that's all good. So let's settle in for our meditation and be very mindful of our state of mind. After a meal, it can go into dullness. So extra alertness needs to be engaged. If you feel really dull, you can always have your eyes slightly open, looking down, letting a bit of light in. Or otherwise, you can breathe backwards. So breathe backwards so that noticing the in-breath, also the out-breath and the in-breath. or even hold your breath, then you're going to be very alert, especially after 2 minutes. So taking this time to settle into our afternoon meditation, Sunday afternoon meditation. How special. A gift to ourself, sharing our presence with others, a gift to others of creating a sense of a group, community, sitting here, a gift to those people that we connect with after being here, into the later afternoon, the evening, even into tomorrow, having had a meditation day, sharing this good vibe energy with others. So putting in extra mindful effort to be present, aware, alert, conscious, with our eyes gently closed, bringing awareness within, breathing out any stress, tension that may have been building in our body over the happening of the day so far. Breathing out, relaxing, releasing, letting go, relaxing into the sitting posture, the mind mode of meditation. Before noticing our breath, just checking in with the body, feeling some contact sensations of the body, maybe feeling our feet connecting with the floor, contact sensation, feet against the floor. Bringing our awareness up to sense and feel the touch of our body, connecting with the chair, the cushion, or the meditation stool. Just sensing, feeling, noticing contact sensation from sitting, the body against the cushion, chair, or stool. Mindfully noticing, sensing, feeling, experiencing. Present moment mindful act. Bringing awareness up to our hands and fingers resting in our lap. Making sure they feel comfortable. Adjusting our hands and fingers if we need to. And just noticing what the hands and fingers are contacting, maybe one hand against the other. Sensation of warmth or coolness, softness or moistness. Or maybe touching the fabric of our clothes, sensing, feeling, noticing that. Hands and fingers, whatever they're touching. Bringing our awareness up further to our face, noticing our face. A large area of sensation, sensitivity, noticing our face. And maybe even feeling the air against our face. Subtle breeze, the air against our face, just noticing, mindfully noticing. Noticing, sensing, feeling, and even noticing without thought. No need to make any mental comment on that, just noticing, neutral knowing. The eyes closed, also noticing subtle light coming in through the closed eyelids. Even though the eyelids are closed, there's still light coming in, creating an experience of lightness, brightness, color, patterning, or just a blankness. So even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. A forward focused gaze into the space in front through the closed eyelids, into the lightness, brightness, blankness. Not being distracted by background sounds. And particularly not getting caught into the internal mental sound or sight of thoughts. All thoughts occur as a mental image that we see, or a mental sound, voice that we hear. Giving the mind a break from engaging into thought and thinking, but rather using our mind to focus mental attention onto the breath, wherever we might feel that breath the most, maybe the nose or nostril area, and just letting our body breathe itself naturally, not forcing or controlling, letting our body breathe naturally, but noticing and feeling the inflow, outflow, sensation of each soothing, therapeutic breath. Feeling each breath whilst also looking into that lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids. And using a mental meditative word or two together with each breath if we wish. The main thing is to be mindfully present, developing a calm alertness, leading to mental collectedness, mental composure, mental concentration, and inner calm ease. A few minutes left in our meditation, maintaining our mindful focus, feeling, knowing each breath, allowing the mind to become calm, clear, peaceful, and present. Before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the afternoon and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. So we can continue our mindfulness with some walking meditation if you wish. Again, finding a place outside, somewhere suitable to mindfully pace back and forth, 10, 15, 20 paces or so, just pacing back and forth. And also, if it's helpful, to use some mindful meditative perception and reflection, which could be just if you notice there is a sense of unease or pain from maybe the bite of a march fly or treading on a stone or something, then just notice, oh, this is painful. Notice there's a cause to this, not wanting. The pain can end in terms of the emotional distress. It has an end, and the end is through just letting go. So bring those four mindful perceptions into practice. This is pain, or this is unease. This is a cause, or it has a cause. You can end letting go. So I'll again ring my chimes when it's time to return in about 30 minutes time. So enjoy some mindful meditative Sunday walking. Settling into our afternoon meditation, our last sitting meditation for this afternoon here. Settling in, settling down, relaxing back into being. Simply being, breathing, knowing, mindful knowing in the present, in a calm, objective, receptive, attentive way. Moving the mind from the ways and worries of the world, the issues and concerns of self, enabling some inner stillness, silence, and spaciousness. The winds of the world, the waves of the world might whirl around us with force. We can remain inwardly steady, calm and stilled. Enabling this inner peace that comes from a calm, still mind. Unperturbed, undisturbed, mindfully present. Particularly by connecting with this sensation of each ongoing breath, our lifeline to life, and also our mindful lifeline to the present, awareness of the breath. Able to lead the mind even to profound liberation. The simple activity of noticing, sensing, feeling each soothing, life-giving breath with calm alertness, mindful focus, enabling this peaceful presence. for ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the afternoon and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. Yep, can I get you to turn the lights on? Just the top left switch, top left. That one. Thanks. So we're feeling fairly settled. Meditative day. Nobody fell asleep? Nearly? That's good. Often can be that this sort of the afternoon meditation after a meal and it's a bit warm, easy to get a bit dull mental state. But with the winds, obviously the sound of the wind, sensation of the wind, sort of energy that is there. In the last half an hour, to mention a few things, including some books that are worthwhile. This book, Samadhi, The Experience of Samadhi, very, very worthwhile, by Richard Shankerman. Talks about what the Buddha said about Samadhi and deeper meditations, and quotes from the Buddha, and also has explanations of developing the deeper meditations, and also in the back there's interviews with half a dozen contemporary meditation teachers. And then also this one, Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond, a Meditator's Handbook. And that's written by Ajahn Brahm, English Buddhist monk, senior Buddhist monk in the Buddhist monastery in Perth, Bodhinyana Monastery. So I know him well. We were together in Thailand, in the monastery there, and also when I was in Sydney, he would come and teach at my meditation group at times, and meditation days. So highly worthwhile, and he does give meditation retreats in his monastery, or actually they've got a meditation center across the road from the monastery called Jhana Grove. Brendan was there and did how many days?
9 days.
9-day retreat. He survived. Came back to tell us about it. So
I have the first name or the name of the last book.
This one, Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond. You're also welcome to take a photograph of these books if you wish. So this one, like, they're all slightly different. This is a bit more of a manual meditator's handbook, so to speak, a bit more instruction. Somewhat like this one, Focused and Fearless, by A Meditator's Guide to States of Deep Joy, Calm and Clarity, by Shyla Catherine, American Buddhist meditation teacher based in America. So they're all very good. And as mentioned, I will send this as a PDF out by email, so that it's up to you whether you want to actually print it off or not, or just have a look at parts of it, or just ignore it. But I found it quite interesting, helpful, insightful, inspirational, and it was written 2014, so it's 10 years ago, but timeless insights and understandings. And also, if you wish to take a photograph of these two charts that talk about the four noble truths and also the four sources of stress and suffering, feel free to take a photograph to remind yourself, because they're both as sets of four worthwhile being aware of. And certainly the being aware of what the four truths, four perspectives or perceptions are, four noble truths, so that you can then apply them in daily life. It's really about applying this understanding. So transformation from information to knowledge. So yes, I know this stuff, to actually applying it, then it becomes wisdom. So wisdom is applied knowledge that you realize, make real for yourself. That's its main worth. Otherwise, it's just intellectual information. And especially also the four sources of stress and suffering. I use these myself quite a bit, just as a mental reflection to go, okay, well, if there is even just the question, how am I feeling? Oh, there's some unease or some sort of frustration. Oh, okay, so which source of stress and suffering is this? Is it not getting what I wanted? Or is it losing what I like and love? I have something, but I'm losing it, or I've lost it, it's gone, losing what one likes and loves. Or is it that it's having to be with an unpleasant situation? Or is it, number four, dealing with just the realities of the mind-body complex, which may be more physical, discomfort in the body, aches and pains, illness, or something that's a bit more mental, dullness, tiredness, mental unease. So being able to discern which of the four that it is, and then being able to then apply the four truths. This is unpleasant, this is painful, this is suffering. There's a cause to this, probably holding on to something, grasping, clinging, wanting. This can end, this unease can end. Fourth truth, letting go. So in a way, we're being like our own psychologists to help bring about healing, bringing about relief. But this relief is not just in the moment. It's being relieved from some frustration or some jealousy or some sort of upset about what's going on with the body, but it can lead to ultimate, complete, full and final freedom, which the Buddha said our human life, being used well, is to be directed towards realizing our full freedom. Not just hanging out in the sandpit, enjoying the toys, getting upset when they break or someone else walks off with them, but getting out of the sandpit. Enough of the games, enough of this sort of this experience, sense of growing up, matriculating, evolving, transcending. That is a possibility. Because the sandpit is getting a bit more sort of untenable. There's less sand in it. There's more dirt and muck in it, and there's more kids in the sandpit. Overpopulation. The resources are going. How long is it still going to be fun in the sandpit, in the world, before AI takes over? And the robots. They're already here. Well, even like with this camera up here, it's like We didn't have to have Brendan sort of standing there holding a camera and making adjustments. It's there. It's remote control. And the computer that's got people connecting in from various places. It's artificial intelligence and computer operated systems and robotic systems. They're here. So it means that our task as human beings maybe is less physical, becomes more mental, psychological, emotional, spiritual. We don't need to spend so much time with the scrubbing our clothes and squeezing out our clothes and beating up food. We have more time walking, spending an hour or so walking to work. So we've got more time to devote to the mind, to meditation, and actualizing our full psycho-spiritual potential. If you want, choice is ours. Also, with these four sources of stress and suffering, as a reflection to note, okay, in my life, has there been one or more of these that has been a significant experience? Because we all experience them, moment to moment. But sometimes we have an experience that is more paramount to one of these, which might be not getting something that we wanted. I was the fantastic job that was going to take me overseas, it was going to change my life. I missed out. I didn't get it. Or maybe in that partner that decided that it wasn't going to happen. So that not getting what I wanted has significantly changed my life and was a great source of distress at the time. Or it might be losing what I like and love. Something that we did have, we lost it, even through death, and affected our life in a major way. Great distress, great upset, great pain. Or it may have been having to deal with a difficult situation that went on for quite some time. Some sort of unpleasant legal situation, some sort of difficult building sort of project. Dealing with the floods or bushfires. Or maybe just dealing with the mind and body. So maybe in sort of dealing with a physical illness that was distressing, traumatic, that went on for some time, that affected our well-being in terms of great sense of distress and unease, or even a mental health issue. So being able to be aware, reflective, and even then also learning from past experience. So we, as human beings, we have this amazing brain with certain faculties, including the faculty of memory. So we can engage what I call recycling and upcycling experience. So wisdom doesn't need to be developed just by being aware of what's happening in the present moment, so to speak, but we can remember, so reconnect with what happened 10 years ago, that one might have been pushed aside, under the carpet, in the closet, out of the way, don't want to know about that, can't deal with that, which may have then caused unease, mental, physical, for some time. We can go, okay, I'm mindful enough, I'm aware enough, I have enough objectivity to remember, to recollect, to reconnect with that painful experience, to view it with objectivity, to bring it back to mind, to reflect upon it. So recycling and then upcycling it into wisdom. So what was going on there? Situation. Why was there so much distress? Well, I was pushing, reacting, resisting, denying or distracting from what was happening. So what do I need to learn from that? What have I learned from it already? Don't push it away. Or What would I like to learn from it? I would like to transform this into real insight, understanding, so that I don't get caught up in that situation ever again. So this is where we have this ability to remind, recollect, bring back into current awareness, and then so recycle, bring it back, and then sort of upcycling it, transforming it into wisdom, from blight to blessing. That's the power of the mind, particularly through meditation, developing the mind through meditation, being mindful, reflective, developing insightful understanding, freedom. So some questions, Annabelle?
The four sources of stress and stuff, now, like, I'm kind of seeing that they're all kind of the same one, though, which is not getting what we want. Because even if we lose what we like and love, we wanted it to stay.
Yes.
We were attached.
Yes.
And then having to be with that is unpleasant. Well, we want peace and pleasantness. And then the other one, the mind and body, well, we want health and wellness. So technically, it seems as if, and from my perspective, because in my life, it's a lot of not getting what I want, wanting things to go set by being very attached to things. And especially I'm finding with this new kind of, in my generation, it's all about trying to manifest and, you know, you deserve this and go for what you want and create this perfect life. And there's all of this kind of attachment to getting somewhere. And it's like set boundaries with people and you get all of this. And it's like, we have to, you know, it's like this visualization of visualize what you want, what you want, what you want, what you want, what you want. And you get so attached to it. And then little things don't go your way. And I'm just noticing me and all my friends basically throwing tantrums, like 2-year-olds, because life's not going the way that it's like we're being told that it should be going. And it's just like so up, like, it's like so stirring, I guess. But basically, I mean, maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but I basically see it all is that it's all having an attachment to how we want something to go, what we want, and not going the way that we want, and we can't control it. Basically.
And that's it. So that's a great insight, because it all comes down to the wanting.
Yeah.
And the wanting and the attachment. So that there can be wanting, or I'm attached to getting something, even if you haven't got it yet. I'm attached to wanting it and wanting to have it. Or as you mentioned, the other one, so that even if it's like, well, I'm attached to not wanting this to be happening, but it's happening. I want this not to be happening. I want something else to be happening. So as the Buddha's insight, yes, it's wanting, it's clinging, it's craving, it's grasping, it's holding on. That's the problem. Hence with meditation, whilst meditation, it's not easy, it's can be challenging, it requires ongoing practice, which can be certainly tedious, but it's training and leading the mind, brain, it's a physical exercise, neural connections, brain, to be able to experience a peace and a pleasure that's not about the next thing, another sensory experience, letting go of getting caught up in thought, letting go of seeking sense-based experience. And the more there is letting go, there's more peace and the pleasure, deep, profound pleasure, even neurological, biochemical pleasure of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin that comes from a really calm, peaceful mind. So we're swapping the pleasure of another instant hit of whatever with the deep pleasure of meditation. So there's less interest in social media and what other people have and so forth. There's a growing beyond that, sort of a getting out of the sandbox, so to speak. And that's sort of the practice path. And of course, insight, vipassana, another word for insight, is necessary, but the more the mind is aware and alert and refined and powerful, then it doesn't take too much insight to let go even more completely, because we can all understand everything's impermanent. Yeah, we know that. Cause and effect. Don't cling to things. We understand that. But we understand it, but we don't really take it to heart deeply, because there's still attachments there. So so it's the transformation of a lesser happiness or pleasure for a more profound happiness and pleasure of deep peace through meditation, and also outside of meditation as well, being more content. That's where it's quite wonderful and transformative. Yep.
I know one of the criticisms of meditation is it's really negative. It's like, oh, it's suffering. This causes us suffering. And this is, you know, like the concentration on suffering. And I think, because I've got a son that's probably in the last generation, it seems that there's like a concentration on just concentrate on the positive and concentrate on the positive all the time. That's what's going to come. And so it can seem very, you know, it's kind of hard, I guess, for that generation to understand the sort of that they're suffering, because it seems like too much on the negative stuff.
Well, certainly the Buddha taught the Majjhima Patipata, the middle way of practice, which is not getting caught into extremes of focusing on negativity or suffering, or not getting caught up in the extremes of sensual pleasure and excitement. So the middle way. Also, there's a little saying that says, the Buddha said, two things only do I teach: suffering and its end to reach. So it's yes, there is stress and suffering, but it can end, which is why there's four noble truths. Okay, this is suffering, or this is painful. It has a cause, and it can end, and there's a way to the ending. So it's not all just negativity. It's like there is possibility of freedom from the suffering. But again, it's like the excitement, the pleasure sells a lot better than, say, everything's suffering, everything's impermanent, don't get attached. Get another one, get a Vassa one, get a red one, get a whatever, and you'll be happy for a little while.
And I guess that's the benefit of getting older, is that you've been through that process many times. When you get to my age, it's like, well, I wanted this thing, and then I got there and I got it. And once you got it, you're like, well, now what? You know, I'm not any happier than I was before, really. So, and then you try to get something else, you know, a new job or a bigger house, and then when you do get those things, you're still like, well, yeah, now what?
It's so deflating when it happens, and you realise, but then you come face to face with, you're like, oh, getting that next thing's not actually going to take the suffering away. How do I actually now come to face with this? Because it's almost ignorance is bliss in a sense, right? Like sometimes I'm jealous of people who haven't kind of come face to face with that, who are in that set, like really in that cycle, because they just really believe that next thing's going to do it. Once you've kind of seen and you've experienced it, you're like, oh, got to find another way. What is that other way?
Yeah.
They're just in the hamster wheel, they're just running around.
If you're in the hamster wheel, you don't know it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you never get anywhere.
No, you don't. But yeah, it's different kind of suffering, I guess. Yeah.
And that's the existential angst that the young Siddhartha, before becoming the Buddha, realized that because of aging, illness, and death, and you have things, and he had lots of lovely things as a young prince, and he wasn't really happy. Beautiful wife, child. It just doesn't do it. There must be something else. But he realized that something else was an inside job. So to do with the mind. And it's great that we have this possibility to appreciate these teachings and to use them to really wake up in our lifetime. Yep.
So you might have asked on Thursday night. Did you be on Thursday night in meditation? Did you ask about taking refuge in the Buddha? Did you ask on this? Someone asked a question.
That was Gary.
Oh, Gary,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Gary asked about taking refuge in the Buddha, and I thought a bit about that because I'm still curious. Kind of, I think is like when someone does take refuge in the Buddha. I'll explain kind of what I'm getting at, but like, is it kind of this universal energy of the Buddha, or is it more taking refuge in knowing that we all have Buddha nature, and it's taking refuge within our Buddha nature that perhaps we haven't yet like tapped into in that deeper knowing, or is it more an external Buddha nature of being held by a Buddha figure universally held?
Or something else.
Or something else, yeah. Why am I thinking it's only two options, right? It's very black and white thinking to think it's only these two. Yeah.
So generally, in terms of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, because we tend to be already having refuge. We take refuge in delights and the future and ego and consumerism and so forth. That's often where the mind's going to take refuge, and that becomes our focus. That's what I want. That's what I'm devoted to. Power, fame, pleasure, all those sorts of things. So to counteract that, there's a sense of taking refuge, or a sense of aligning to that which transcends the world. So taking refuge in the Buddha is appreciating that the Buddha was a historical figure and was fully enlightened and taught the way to enlightenment. So a sense of acknowledgement and alignment. So it doesn't need to be something mystical or energetically out there, but more just a fundamental sort of fact. And taking refuge in the Dharma, which is the Buddha's teachings, I respect and honor and will make use of these teachings. Taking refuge in the Sangha. Sangha is the community of those that have become fully enlightened. So acknowledging that there were and are people that are fully enlightened, and that I take refuge in that possibility that they are, but also that I can realize that as well. So it can be more in that practical sense. For some people, it might call themselves, Buddhists, even sort of cultural Buddhists. There may be a bit more of a mystical type of cosmic type of feel to that. But even just the idea of a Buddha image, there's no power in a Buddha image other than whatever power you give it. It's more of a symbol, sign of an enlightened person who was a historical figure, the Buddha, that taught and that had a community of those that followed the teachings and became enlightened right up until this day. So that's where having a Buddha image, and where people might bow 3 times to a Buddha image, it's a symbol like standing up to salute the flag, or a sense of, with regards to bowing, it's putting your head down. So rather than ego, but sort of putting that down on the ground, in a sense of letting go of ego to respect that which is transcendent. Even though a lot of people have their Buddhas in the garden, which is fine as well. So the Buddha spent a lot of his lifetime in various gardens and groves. Greta?
Thanks, John. That's very helpful. It occurs to me when I'm watching my dog and he just lives life, that many animals have the qualities that us humans work so hard to generate, and they seem to just kind of already know and do, and but are they really on the path to enlightenment?
Well, it'd be nice if they were. Companions on the way. But with animals, you can see that, yes, they might seem very sort of peaceful at times, and they can be patient. I've been teaching my dog patience, but a lot of it's not because of wisdom, but more just out of ignorance, and because they don't really think a great deal, which is our problem. Thought comes in and creates a lot of issues and stress. But when the mind is not caught into thought and uncomplicated, then there's a lot more peace, as you can see in a cat or a dog. But if they were able to think, then they maybe would be thinking a lot more stuff of how can they get more food, or how can they sort of make you feel that you should be giving them more food, and that they need to be fed more times in the day, and
to get those back.
That's right.
My dog just stares at me.
Give me food.
But because they're a lot less complicated than human beings, they have more of a just an underlying ease that's there. So we might move towards finishing up on our retreat day, and also with the appreciation that this is number 3 of the 4 retreat days over the 3-month, 12-week Vassa period. So we do have the next one next month on the 20th of October. And also just remembering that for those that didn't join us for the previous ones, I did send out initially some information which I can send out, which was a Vassa retreat sort of title page, also a list where you can tick off or write in how many minutes you're doing for meditation. And there was all these things as well that I'd sent out as well in terms of articles, so that those of you that weren't on the previous ones, I can send those out so that you can make use of them if you wish.
Also, the recordings are on YouTube.
Okay, the recordings are on YouTube as well. And the address of that, I think
that's Sama Samadhi Meditation Sangha.
Sama Samadhi Meditation Sangha, which probably is on my website as well as a link. And so the next retreat's the 20th of October. Then there'll be another retreat, it's not within the Vassa retreat periods, beginning of December, and that'll be the last one for the year before we then begin another set of retreat days in 2025. Life's happening. So let's settle in for just a short 3-minute meditation and dedication of merit goodness to others. So settling into this meditative mode, meditative mindset, body aligned with symmetry, balance, poise, the eyes gently closed, bringing awareness within. Relaxing into this calm, present moment awareness. Feeling the soothing inflow, outflow of a few mindful breaths. Using some thought to enable an inner sense of joy, joy in the worth and well-being, the goodness of our day. As a human being, having taken this time to do one of the most important things a human being can do, to cultivate the quality and clarity of our consciousness, developing our mind and mindfulness, engaging this meditation day, being here. So feeling good in ourselves for what we've done, no matter how well we've done, but appreciating our efforts, feeling good, inner sense of joy, self-worth, well-being, this wholesome activity, practice, behaviors, generating good energy, good karma. Whatever we do with intention creates karma, certainly the good, wholesome karma of what we've enabled through this day, supporting our mind, body through this practice, supporting each other through combined presence, being an example to others, being a benevolent force of good in the world, on the planet, that can benefit all other sentient beings in various ways, inclining the mind towards peace and insight, freedom, enlightenment, this wholesome karma or merit that we've developed. We can dedicate or gift that to others. There's no depletion of our own good karma and merit through gifting it away. It continues to flow. So if there is someone or some peoples, even pets, that you'd like to dedicate this good energy, good karma merit to, and bringing them to mind, seeing them in our mind's eye, using some words to engage the mind heart to wish them well. May you be well and happy, free from pain, issue, illness, receiving this gift of good energy, good vibe, this gift of merits. May you fulfill your life potential. So with such thoughts and aspiration, intention or wish, gifting this good energy, this good vibe, some significant other or others, breathing into and out from our heart center, the place of our spiritual heart, breathing out this good energy, this mind, force, energy, gifting this goodness to others. May they be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, actualizing their life potential. As we breathe into and out from our heart center with the energetic vibration, like a light, a radiance, a warmth, having that include and connect to everyone here, everyone that's been part of our retreat day, even those that needed to leave early, even those that are connected online. So gifting this goodness, sharing it with everyone else. May you all be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, actualizing your full potential. So breathing out, giving, and as we breathe in, receiving that gift, merit from others. Breathing out, giving, breathing in, receiving. Feeling part of a conscious community, aspiring towards clarity, wisdom, well-being. Breathing out, wishing the welfare of others, sharing this gift of goodness. As we breathe in, we receive that gift from others, all those that are here, connecting online. Feeling of joy, connectedness, well-being. Turning our awareness back to ourselves, just feeling good in ourselves for what we've done, appreciating our efforts this day, and wishing ourselves also some well-being. And may I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living my life well, May my life be a blessing to others. Feeling good in what we've done. Our meditation, gifting of goodness or merit, and including ourselves in that as well. Feeling motivated to continue our practice, mindfulness, meditation, wisdom. Practicing with this sense of ease and joy. When you feel ready to end this dedication of merit, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. So thank you everyone for being here this day, being present. Hope it's been meaningful and helpful for you. And certainly continue with the practice. And hope to see you again soon, which could be at the Thursday night drop-in meditation group here, every Thursday night, 6:30 to 7:30. Online for those that can't get here. And also the next meditation retreat day. So go well. Thanks for sharing.